Hello and welcome to another episode of Star Wars Alliance. Of course, I'm your host, Clay, and with me for the Ahsoka finale talk, which I do believe is going to be pretty interesting, is Katie. Katie, you put up a suspicious. Now, I will say this: if you had a problem with the finale, you don't seem to be alone in that thought because there are some opinions, not only on Twitter, but on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook. There's opinions on YouTube, of course. People have some issues with some of the things that happen in this finale. We will get to them. I can somewhat agree with a little bit of the issues, but overall, I think I had a good time with this finale, more so for the idea of what's to come. And we will discuss that as well. So, Katie, we're going to jump right into this because I do believe we don't have big news topics. Well, I will say this because I do think some of our audience will enjoy this. You posted this today. It says Inkstone will be publishing limited hardcover special editions of the Legends books. I like this. I like this
Yeah,
idea.
I think this is super smart, especially for a lot of people as like are getting into these books for the first time with the Essential Legends collection. It is very specific that these books are going to have the Essential Legends collection. I do hope that they are better printed than the paperbacks are. Just like snide remarks there. Not snide, but like hopes and dreams for people. Um, but I think this is a completely smart move. Getting the new covers out there. A lot of people have looked for specific ones in hardcover because that's what some people prefer.
Hmm.
Um, so I think this is gonna just get smarter and smarter. For Del Rey, Random House Worlds to do. Inkstone has been very specific. If you pre-order this first one, it will get you early access to upcoming
Yes.
hardcover
So,
editions.
in the comments of this post, somebody did ask, "Is there a pre-order link already?" And they said, "Early access is for those that ordered Rise of the Red Blade. General sale is on Monday." So, I think this is very, very cool. I hope they go backward and kind of choose some of the stuff that have already released, such as, of course, the Bane trilogy would be a really big one for
Yeah.
me. I would really love to have that in hardcover, as well as much as I didn't like it, I do know that it has a lot of influence for what this series is. Of course, Ahsoka, and of course, the movie that's going to come out. I will need the original Thrawn trilogy in hardcover as well. So.
Yeah. I have the 20th anniversary hard copy of Heir to the Empire with a personal signature. We talked about this already, but Timothy Zahn signed it with like a Mara quote on it and everything. So that would definitely be a priority for me. Um, just to continue to have editions of books that I really love in formats that are like displayable. I told you this before, but like I've moved my canon trilogy all to hardcovers basically.
Mhm.
Um, and my sister was like, "Oh, I'd love to borrow Shadow of the Sith," and I was like, "You can't borrow Shadow of the Sith." And she was like, "Why?" This is the girl I had to steal clothes back from her growing up because she would steal my clothes
Okay,
and
yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
never return them. Even in college, I was like, "No, you're never getting this." And like my mom had to explain it to her because this is like the girl. This is my sister who played softball at Clemson. My mom told her this would be like Katie asking to borrow your ACC championship softball ring and borrow that for a couple weeks for Katie. I was like, yeah, yeah, it is. So, um, just I love collecting these books. They mean a lot to me. So yeah, I could hope to see this continue.
I
And that
I
this one
am
gets a good
very
turnout.
yeah, I am very much looking forward to this. Of course, Katie got me into Star Wars novels to begin with, and the the hardcover aesthetic of books just for my personal opinion just looks a lot better. Uh and it gives me an opportunity to keep the paperback for my daughter eventually, so that way when she starts reading she can start with those, and then if she wants to upgrade to hardcover she can. If they're
Yeah.
still available of course at that time. Um but
Yeah, the biggest thing is making sure, like, because this first one is the Dawn of the Jedi book, which I know, like, for a lot of people wasn't like a huge standout for Legends. So it's interesting they're choosing to go with this one up front. Um, but I know with like out of print copies, for instance, the out of print covers from phase one of the High Republic, they're not doing those for phase three. So I just hope that like there's enough interest to keep people to keep these coming, basically.
I lied. I just scrolled through the Star Wars Alliance chat. There is a big talking point for news, which is this weird phenomenon that is going on with Knights of the Old Republic. Of course, the remake was announced via a PlayStation 5 exclusive, now going on 2.5 years ago. Uh, well, actually, I think it was September of 2021 when it was announced. Uh, it says here from the Twitter account Culture Crave. Of course, it's been regurgitated several times before and after this. But Knights of the Old Republic remake trailer has been made private on YouTube. Under more investigation, some other people have claimed things like Sony PR says KOTOR remake trailer removed over licensing music. I shouted BS immediately when I saw this post, and Travis Snell did agree with me. He said, "Yeah, Clay, some guy in the comments even pointed out that it was just Star Wars music. So what gives?" So if people
So
well go ahead, Katie.
and I kind of disagree with you and Snell on this. Like they can still lose licenses over this stuff, like over Star Wars music. And so like they might be going back to the drawing board and trying to figure stuff out, but they also Star Wars might have pulled the plug, and which would lose them the license effectively. Because does Sony have another Star Wars game?
So the thing about this is we reported on this earlier this year, but in the I think middle of this year, probably the very beginning of the summer, the company that was making Knights of the Old Republic, I believe was either sold or completely dispersed as a company. One of the two. I'll have to go back and double check some of the stories written about it. But from my knowledge, the company overall was not doing well. So it may just be, hey, this is not going to be made. Of course, there's still games such as the Quantic Dreams Eclipse that
Which we
is
don't like because the head guy is an asshole.
yes, there is a lot of controversy over that. There has been some kind of PR swing since then, saying that there is a uh, what did they call it? Some sort of coach that is tagging along with the
Yeah,
development team.
diversity and inclusive.
Yeah, a diversity inclusive coach um, within the development team now, and making that a better experience. We'll see how that goes. Um, but there hasn't really been any updates on those things for a while. Now this could be for the sake that after Star Wars Celebration, we saw that there was going to be a bigger push for movies back in theaters and whatnot. So this may just be a shift in what Kathleen Kennedy and, of course, the rumors of her stepping down from Lucasfilm, the future head of Lucasfilm, are planning for what Star Wars is going to be in the next 5 to 10 years. We don't know the exact everything about it. So I would say take any news that you hear about these games with a grain of salt until we get definitive answers via StarWars.com or Star Wars Celebration or anything of that sort. So
Yeah.
that was one of the big things that came out within the past week of us going live, of course, last week. Um, and I believe now that is
Actually,
updated.
I have one more thing. So Shadows of Starlight issue number 1 actually came out today. I did purchase that and read it because I was like,
Yes.
okay, I've got to know what's happening. I can't wait 3 months. Um, so I won't spoil it for Clay because I want Clay to be able to experience it. Um, but very good issue, I feel like. Has kind of, well, okay, no. Um, I feel like it's just kind of getting things set up. There is some new information thrown in at the end, also some tie-ins to Tales of Light and Life, as well as Phase 2 that probably people aren't necessarily expecting. So, if you're interested in that, definitely check it out. But so there is basically a wall uh in the Jedi temple with like missing in action or killed in action Jedi.
Okay.
And one of those Jedi, if you've read The Fallen Star, if you haven't, spoiler alert, is Reginald Cole. And they actually traced fan art of Cole in the issue. The main artist did. So
Now, has this been confirmed? Now, people can
nobody
assume.
said nobody has said anything, but here's the images, and this is from Ranja on Twitter. But I've seen these images too because I have Chronicles of the Jedi, which is the currently the only official artwork of Cole in for Lucasfilm. So this was the tweet with somebody's fan art of Regold, which is again in the same concept art format that we currently have for
Mhm.
the High Republic. So it does look official. But this is Cole, and then this is Cole.
So,
And we
from
go back
what
to the comic.
the comic has is, of course, a little bit more style in the hair, and clearly, the biggest notifier here would be the shape of the character's nose. I think they gave it a
Mhm.
little bit more definition, gave it a little bit more character, and of course, probably the smile, the smirk, whatever you want to call it. These are very similar. Um, Again, I understand, and there has been a lot of controversy over the idea of tracing in comics. If you want to learn a little bit more about it in the industry of comics, I know for individuals like me and you, and more of the people who are just jumping into comics, thinking this idea is that tracing is stealing. You're taking somebody else's artwork and using it as your own. Now, from what I've learned is that the professionals see it in a different light. And I do want to point out, if you have the time, go search out Jen Bartel. She's a great artist for Marvel and some, of course, indie comics. She did a huge thread on uh on why artists in the comics book industry look at tracing differently. Um and a lot of individuals I've seen trace their own work, and people still get mad at that. Um, it's their own piece of work, in
I
my
don't
opinion.
I don't think this is necessarily about the tracing aspect. It's the fact that this wasn't official artwork. All of the other official artwork has been paid for and bought by Lucasfilm. In this
Mhm,
case, this is a fan of the High Republic who was doing art, and because this has happened previously, where um, like they traced a specific version. I think it was one of the vectors, but it was like a special type of vector that was
mhm.
only in the books, and somebody had drawn it and it was used, and they went back and officially gave him credit for the image because it was a fan art image. And so in this case, this is a fan art image. And so like artists, especially like from Lucasfilm, because this is the second time in the High Republic, and I know a couple other times this has happened in like some of the other main runs. They just need to take better care of like if this is fan art or not, because like I mean you could step into a whole mess of legal issues by using somebody else's work that's not officially licensed. So
Yes, I do agree with that as well. Um, I think overall it's a very slippery slope to point fingers as well. Just of course we have been talking about this for almost 6 months now, considering WGA and the SAG-AFTRA dealing with AI. So like it's going in, like they can meld into the same conversation for sure. So I do remember you posting that in Star Wars Alliance. It was a good point to point out here on the podcast as well. Andrew did pop up here for a quick second saying I can't watch live right now, but I want to pop in and say hello Andrew. uh
hello.
I think that is officially it. I know we've
Yes.
said it like several times here today, but let's jump into the conversation of Ahsoka, the, from what we assume, season 1 finale of this show. There was several posts that said the series finale. They have since been deleted from my knowledge. I didn't actually see those original posts, and that was a
I didn't
big
either.
controversy online, and people were freaking out. And oh my god. Um, but Katie, several things happened in this episode, along with several things that didn't happen in this episode. We voiced our concerns in the ending of last week's episode about they need to answer a lot of questions in order for it to feel like a completed season. Now that the season is over, do you think this has the exact same problem as the other series on Disney Plus? Or is this a efficient ending to a series that might have multiple seasons?
So I would call it worse than other Disney Plus finales. Don't
Wow.
don't get me wrong.
Wow.
I'm gonna clarify that and say plot wise, it's worse than other Disney Plus finales. I really enjoyed what I saw. I had a lot of fun with it.
Okay.
Um, for what we got, I was like, cool, yay, like this is awesome. My list in like my writers group spoiler chat for this, I said, and this is gonna delve into spoilers, so here's your spoiler warning. People, go away if you haven't watched it, but come back because it's a place to be. Um, so Ezra building a new lightsaber and all the information and details we got there with Hu Yang and everybody, peak. Mortis father and brother appearance, peak. Death Trooper appearance, creepy. I hated that book, but also peak. Hera and Ezra not hugging in the end, not peak, but yay reunion.
People even had a problem with that, and I'll bring that up later, but keep going.
Yes. Um, and I also said, wait, Anakin, Force Ghost, and Sabine getting her Force powers unlocked equals mega peak. I have a lot of issues with the way the main character is handled. You don't name a show after a fucking character and not
You've
dedicate more time.
you've had this issue throughout the entire series though. So
Yes.
I can't put that against the series when it's something that we acknowledge from the very beginning. There were specific episodes that were directly for Ahsoka. Um,
One episode.
um I would say this episode had a lot more Ahsoka than the other episodes.
Ahsoka is present more, yes. But this episode was about Sabine and Ezra.
Okay, okay.
Balin getting ignored. Um Now, obviously, we don't know if there was more intended for him and they just kind of left it up in the air because of Ray Stevenson's death and just kind of wanted to go, okay, maybe we can have a cliffhanger here. And like, maybe then he just goes off into Never Ever Land, never to be heard from again. Maybe that's what they chose to go with because they had the shot of him standing on the father's arm or whatever. I don't like it. They left too many questions up in the air. I don't like that. And I'm jumping ahead to the end again, but I don't like how Sabine and Ahsoka are on Peridia and are just like, oh yeah, we're here where we're meant to be. Like, I don't. We're gonna have to wait 3 years to at least to figure out how they're getting home.
Yes. And it's okay to jump around here. It's the season finale. We all have opinions on this. Like I said, there has been plenty of people. So, um, I want to talk about one of the biggest controversies that I've seen on multiple different social media sites that I want to have a conversation with you with to see your opinion, to see if you have an answer to what people are calling a problem in the Star Wars universe. And that is lightsaber choreography
It was awful.
and lightsaber consistency.
It was
And
awful.
what I mean by that is, yes, a lot of people are making fun of the way that Rosario Dawson's choreography was in this episode. She felt really stiff. A lot of people are making fun of the twirls, deflecting the blasters near the end of the episode, and a lot of the choreography with Sabine and Ezra as well. Um,
Ezra's choreography was about the only thing I liked lightsaber wise.
okay,
I thought it felt like Ezra.
okay. When it comes to the problem, do you see there being a solution? And the reason why I asked this is because we saw in the original trilogy made in the 70s, people need to understand this. Star Wars was created in the 70s. That's when the first
Yes.
movie was brought up. Then we got the prequels in the late 90s all the way up until 2006, 2007. I can't remember. To be
2003.
was was Revenge of the Sith 2003 or 2004?
2005. You're right.
Okay, I was about to say, like, don't make me feel older than I am. Come on now. So the late 90s to early 2000s was the prequels, and we saw a dramatic shift in the way people fought with lightsabers. uh I think most noticeably people love to point out the final battle between Obi-Wan and Anakin Skywalker, aka Darth Vader, um and how they did all the crazy tricks and force and all of that stuff. And then you jump to the sequel trilogy, where again it turns into more of a stiff fighting style. The From what I believe to be true is that through time, as the passage of time is moving in Star Wars, the art form of lightsaber battles or fighting techniques and all of that is going away because you don't have the, what was it, 98% of Jedi that died, 95%
Yeah.
of Jedi that died in Order 66. So that art form is dying. So when you finally start to see these lightsaber fights on these films, they're going to be a little awkward. They're going to be a little stiff. They're not going to be as smooth as people who have been training for years and years and years for so many decades and whatnot. Um, that's to my knowledge how Lucasfilm looks at it, and how George looked at it, I believe.
I can agree with you in Sabine's case. I can't agree with you in Ahsoka's case.
On Ahsoka's case, yes, I understand that. You also have to understand that Ahsoka is an older individual from when she was younger. Um, again,
We
there was
Yoda
still
moved like crazy in the prequels. Like
okay, but that's Yoda. That's Yoda.
Ahsoka's also 38 and has been training constantly.
Yes, and I was gonna say you can't really use that excuse when they had a really good lightsaber fight with, of course, the quote unquote Force Ghost or a dream world of Anakin Skywalker and with
Yes.
Balin in 2 previous episodes. I
Yes.
understand that. But I'm just playing devil's advocate and I'm just throwing things out there.
I'm
I
here to play the right advocate.
I think I think it would be very awkward and a bit jarring if you just all of the sudden made all of these lightsaber wielders during this part of the timeline complete badasses swinging their lightsabers like crazy, like they're all Jedi masters. I think that would be very jarring, in all honesty.
Balin and Ahsoka make sense to be masters. I think Shin's fighting style in the whole season worked out well for her
Okay.
and like fits her training as a person of the dark side usage. Sabine missing things here and there with her lightsaber because obviously she trained with Ahsoka and then took a break and now it's back. And she trained with Kanan, but that was a long time ago. So it's like Sabine not having fluidity makes sense. But the scene in which like they're fighting the troopers and Ahsoka's like it's that gift that's going around. Like Ahsoka's like batting back blaster bolts. It's not even like a lightsaber fight. It's blaster bolts. And she doesn't look fluid. Like it's totally like she was there and she was forced to pause because that was the cue for the CGI person to come in and digitally insert the blaster bolt coming in.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like you can't have that. Like the prequels did it so much better. Like
Well, there's a point that somebody brought up with there's a moment where the mothers actually started to resurrect the troopers,
yep.
and I saw this post on Twitter. I want to read it. They quote tweeted the clip and they said, "Why does this look like absolute shit though? Like, not conceptually, every shot here is boring and static and unthreatening at all. Obi-Wan and Darth Vader's duel on the Death Star was more dynamic than this, and that was a uh, uh, generic uh, generic. A guy who couldn't see out of his helmet swinging sticks at each other." So, like, I don't 100% agree with that, but my problem was the inconsistency with the death troopers or with the zombie troopers, whatever you want to call them. So they, of course, were very stiff to begin with when they first started the fight, and then when they were resurrected, they were stiff again. And then when they block them with the sealed door, there comes a time when they like stop for a second and they hear the giant explosion. And then these stormtroopers run like they have a fire lit under their ass. They run up those stairs so freaking fast. And in
Mhm.
my mind, that was a little bit inconsistent with how they were moving in the fight compared to how they were moving when there was not Jedi in front of them being threatening. So I had
I
a
think that
problem
can
with that.
also um yeah, I didn't really notice it a whole lot. Cuz again, me and zombies don't get along. Um so for me that but like you could easily say like maybe it's like the great mother's controlling them a little bit down below, especially when they're doing the chanting. But kind
Mhm.
of when they get into the stairway, the mothers are done doing work on them and
Yeah.
everything. So they're just kind of like, oh, go, 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 kind of
Yeah.
thing. So yeah, that was my main thing. Um
But
there.
we get um another thing that I didn't even know this was a thing that man babies were crying about on the internet. Um there is a tinfoil hat theory that a lot of these man babies are having about Star Wars, that they are claiming that Kathleen Kennedy has made it to where lightsabers cannot hurt women. I didn't know this. Um and this
Go away, you freaking man babies.
and this went on to a different part of the conversation that streamed from this episode, of course. Sabine awakens her biggest connection with the Force ever that she's had.
Okay,
Um,
okay, I gotta get this out now.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
so Sabine getting her like using the lightsaber, like Ahsoka literally says sometimes like you have like it has to be like your biggest moment kind of thing.
Mhm.
And so the lightsaber thing obviously had to happen before she could throw Ezra onto the Star Destroyer.
Of
But
course,
what was Sabine's biggest goal coming to Peridia?
to use the Force.
No, it was to get Ezra home.
Yes. So that was her big motivator. Yes.
That's her big motivator to get Ezra across to the Star Destroyer. Like, and especially now that she's had the confidence boost of like, oh, I pulled my fucking lightsaber to me. Like, her throwing Ezra across, like, she's like, oh, I'm riding this adrenaline confidence high, but also like, this is the way to get Ezra home.
Yes, and I do love the callback to Rebels.
Mhm.
They did this multiple times, of course, Ezra and Kanan. So I loved that as well. Um,
Matt
I
was sitting
didn't
there like, oh, he's gonna do the jump thing. They're gonna do the jump thing.
I didn't mind it at all. I loved Sabine be becoming a Jedi. Like, this is her now. Again, Ahsoka has said, you, and even Ezra, you don't need a lightsaber to be a Jedi.
Yep.
And the way that Sabine just, she was one, like, she was focused. The way she used her armor as well as her blaster as well as the lightsaber, it was so fluid and it was so beautiful. I absolutely loved that part of the choreography. When of course Morgan, when she got a intense upgrade to her powers, being called, she had the power of the shadows, I believe is
The Power of the Shadows and Talzin's Blade. Did you
Talzin's blade.
recognize
So
that?
I recognized the name. I didn't know what it was though. Like, I was like, I know that name. I don't know why I know that name.
So she's from Clone Wars. She was the Great Mother for the Dathomir Night Sisters. So she's
Okay.
the one who brings Maul back to life. The blade in particular was used in a fight with Mace Windu. Um, and I
Okay.
believe it was also used one other time, but I don't remember. And the one I've seen popping around on social media was the Mace Windu fight.
Okay. Very, very cool. I was like, I know that name. I don't know why I know it, but the blade still looks cool. Um, and I really loved that fight with Morgan and Ahsoka. I thought the choreography in the beginning was very, very poetic. Just, it was like a dance, and I really do love those types of one-on-one fights. When it gets a little chaotic, it can be a little messy, but when it's just one-on-one, I really do love that stuff. So I really love that. Um, Now, you had a problem with the moment near the end where they were like, "Oh, this is exactly where we need to be." And that was kind of like towards the end of the fight when they finally did kill Morgan.
And
Um,
they're stuck. Thrawn has left them.
yeah, Thrawn has left them. Uh, Now, one thing that I do not agree with is Thrawn himself.
Thrawn's
He
a pathetic.
no, but
Filoni's Thrawn is terrible.
he when they are escaping the planet and Sabine, Ahsoka, and Yuang are right on their tail, Thrawn opens a channel and talks to Ahsoka, and says, "I knew exactly what you were going to do because I knew your master."
Mm-hmm.
And he goes into like pokes. He's trying to press some buttons because he's like, "Oh, I wonder how far you will go to be like your
Yeah,
master." Of
talking
course,
about going like to the dark side and
to the
stuff.
dark side, because Thrawn did know who Darth Vader was.
I'm
Um,
sorry, Thrawn doesn't do that.
he,
Not my Thrawn. Hashtag not my Thrawn.
he, but the fact that he says, "Oh, I knew exactly what you were going to do because I knew your master." The entire time, up until the very end, Thrawn had to wait until she moved to make his
Yep.
next move.
It is this call was purely a gloating moment and to kind of throw Lars Mikkelsen in one more time to just be like, oh yeah, here's where I'm going, kind of thing. Like, so long, suckers. And that's not what Thrawn does. Thrawn does not gloat. He goes back to the drawing board and goes, you know what? We won the
It,
battle.
but but I think it's hilarious because even in the same episode, he proves that he doesn't gloat by telling Morgan, "Oh, I've underestimated Jedi before. I've underestimated rebels before, and I will not do it again." He's talking about these moments that I said in Rebels. There was plenty of times where he put egg on his face because he thought he was winning when he actually wasn't. And
Mm-hmm.
in here, I call complete BS on that last moment. I agree with you that this was an out of character moment that was purely used as a either attempt to get Ahsoka off balance, um, to screw up in those last few seconds, or to quote unquote stall. But I was just like, yeah, that's bullshit because you didn't make any call until Ahsoka moved first.
There was
Ahsoka was the one leading the way to your victory, basically.
they could have also scripted that completely differently
Yeah.
to like still make it to where Lars to where I keep calling him Lars because I don't want to call him Thrawn to where Thrawn could have still made a call and been like, we both learned something today about each other. I hope to see you because he literally would have been like, I hope to see you again on a different battlefield, but for now, like ta. That is totally something Thrawn would have done. Not this like bullshit, like, like I won the day, you're stuck here. Like, I hope you go to the dark side like your master kind of thing. No, no,
Yeah.
no.
And then they are at the campsite at the very end,
Mhm.
and they're having Sabine and Ahsoka are having this conversation. Oh, I hope Ezra made it home. Oh, he did. Just trust me. I know he did. Um, and then there's because even Ahsoka says like, "Oh, we're here for a reason, and we'll find our way back home." Blah blah. Like for right now, we're needed here. Um, and I do like this more like calm, collected Ahsoka that is just like, "Hey, I'm confident in what we are doing. I'm trusting in the Force." Blah blah blah. Um, and then Sabine takes a double take out into the skyline of the planet, and she's like, "Oh, I must have seen some sort of shadow in the starlight," and she walks away. Ahsoka takes the time to kind of look. She gives a small little smirk-ish look and then walks away as well. Camera zooms out, and we see the Force ghost of Anakin.
We also did see Morai, the little mortis owl, by the way.
Yes, that was very interesting considering what we see when we see the shot of Balin. Of
Mhm.
course, the statues, of the father, the son, and the daughter. Um, I again, another jaw-dropping moment, and I was just like, oh, they're doing the thing, they're doing the thing, they're doing the thing.
Yep.
Which makes me think, what if everybody's theory was true about Anakin, but it just wasn't confirmed in this season?
Like him being the Mortis father
Like
replacement.
him, yeah.
Okay. So I had this conversation with Christian last night because he was like, "Oh yeah, like Balin is the brother, Anakin's the father, Ahsoka's the sister." They would have to strongly manipulate the Mortis arc to like change the rules, I feel like. Because so this is taking place like 11 ABY, 12 ABY, right?
Yeah.
Shadow of the Sith, where Anakin makes his final Force Ghost appearance, is 21 ABY.
Okay. So 10 years from now.
Yep. I'm fairly certain in the Mortis arc, because the father goes, I want you to take over. And Anakin's like, oh yeah, cool. Like, I'll check in from time to time, like, no problem. And the father is like, no, you must stay here 24/7. Like, you are not allowed to leave. So that would then negate his ability to Force Ghost around. Yes?
I would assume so, but like the Force is in every living thing. And so then, and again, we've talked about the similarities that people have made, and not necessarily, but kind of what George Lucas intended was the very not so subtle uh relationship that Star Wars has with modern religion and things like that. So when a physical Force ghost is seen, you assume, oh, they are only there, but technically they are a part of the Force, and which means they can be everywhere at once.
Right. And that rule's set up in the from a certain point of view books.
Yeah.
Specifically. I could see what you're saying. I also don't I don't like that excuse because the brother, like in the arc, like the father's like he needs to be watched, otherwise he's just gonna let loose, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
He could get off the planet. You are everywhere and nowhere, but also you have to keep an eye on this imbecile dark side user.
That also means that, because another theory that is out there, you posted this in the Star Wars Alliance chat as well, is that people don't believe Balin is the brother, or he could be a new form of the brother, but the promotional art and the statue,
There's no promotional art. That was fan
is it
art.
fan art? Okay.
Yeah.
So fan art and the statue headpiece, if you notice the statue, the headpiece is kind of like broken, it's eroded. And so people are putting on that tinfoil hat and assuming this is Sam Witwer. Now, I think that would be
But
interesting because there has been a large piece of fan art that has been circling around since the beginning of this series of Sam Witwer as the brother, Ahsoka as the sister, and Anakin as the father.
and I think having Balin be the brother opens you up to a lot of opportunities and not having to recast Balin specifically. You could just be like, oh, the brother took him over and he has a new form and it's Sam Witwer kind of thing. It gets rid of Ray Stevenson's potential, but I mean, you have to recast if you want to use Balin right now. So it could work. I just and I mean, you could say that in Shadow of the Sith, he's the reason he's like, this is my last time being able to help you, I can't help you for very long, kind of thing, is because he's working and like managing the brother. I just don't know. I don't know if I like that. Because a lot of people were like, well, like, how can Anakin appear to Ahsoka but not Luke? And like not to Rey Skywalker in
Well,
the end.
there was another argument which I find to be very stupid is after this episode somebody I think it was on Twitter said, "Oh, so Anakin uh can show up for Ahsoka but not for his grandson that desperately needs him at this moment."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just thinking, for one, you're a few years too early. Uh and two, Anakin knows Ahsoka, trained Ahsoka, has a
Yeah,
very fond relationship with Ahsoka,
yeah,
doesn't
completely.
know anything about Ben whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, like, and again, I know you can try to throw my same logic at me and say, "Oh, but Anakin is a part of the Force, which is part of every single thing, so he can just watch Ben Solo from the time of his birth until he becomes a pupil of Luke Skywalker." It just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. So, I I really did enjoy what I saw with this episode. Balin and Shin. Let's jump to them real quick. Um, like you said, Balin has one shot in this episode with him on the statue, looking far off into the distance at
Wearing
what
a fur feather cloak thing?
he looks awesome. Um,
Yes.
I genuinely do not know what Lucasfilm has planned for a future season that was supposed to have Balin. I don't know what they can do. We've talked about the controversy over recasting,
Mhm.
over the use of AI and CGI and all of that. They are in a pickle, especially with how Balin very quickly became a fan favorite.
Yeah. I think the only option that you can go with is if he was meant for the brother role or the father role, whichever one, then you take on the opinion that, okay, we jump further into the future than you expected to come back to for season 2, and you go, okay, he has merged with the respective spirit he's supposed to be with, and that changed his parents. Because again, we talked about the AI thing. Ray Stevenson can't give consent for him to be reused as AI. Like,
Yeah.
so I believe under the new, at least under the new terms that SAG is going for, because I know like Zelda Williams, the daughter of Robin Williams, has been big into this. Like, if the actor themselves can't give consent, like SAG needs to pull the plug on AI for that reason.
Yeah.
So under those terms, he could not be used as AI. So there has to be a recast. And I think your best bet is to use the, okay, he was doing this. And you can't show anything of Balin doing the thing, but you can show Balin plus Spirit doing things. Does that make sense?
Yes, I it's
Like I said with
very
like Sam Witwer, if you replaced Ray Stevenson and said, "Oh, okay, he's gonna merge with the brother," and Sam Witwer is now the actor for Balin, but it's Balin plus brother. You could not show Balin investigating or getting to the statues
I
of
think
Horus.
the only thing that you would be able to do in that instance is what they did with the ending of season 2 of The Mandalorian, which is when you saw the cloaked Luke Skywalker be a complete badass.
Yep.
you would have to do the same thing with Balin. He would have to be cloaked
You couldn't use a
inside that
voice.
temple. You wouldn't be able to use a voice. You wouldn't be able to see his face. You would just see him investigating, doing this thing, and then show some sort of visual key that shows you that he has then been merged with the brother and whatnot, if that is the way they are going. I know that we were kind of joking around about it, but you posted uh, a tweet about if they decide to recast choosing Henry Cavill, way too young. Sorry. You said that
But
he
he already
has
looks
been
good in
shown
white.
in white and silver. Uh, I understand it, but it's just they would have to age him in some capacity to do that. And I'm sorry, I love Henry. I think he is a great actor in the things that he has been in. Ray could still run circles around Henry. To this day,
So,
still run circles around
for
Henry.
people who want to know how aged up Henry would have to go, Ray Stevenson was 58 when he passed, about to turn 59. And Henry
Is
has
31?
You're way off.
No,
He
no,
is
no, no.
40.
He was I was gonna say he's 30. He was 39. Yeah. So he's 40 now. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know
I
why
thought
I
he
said
was
30.
like early 30s
No.
as
He's
well.
the reason why I remembered that is because he and Andrew Garfield are the same age,
Good job.
which look vastly different, but they are the same age. So
Gets one
Shin
scene
gets only one scene where she is walking to the mercenaries or
on her
riding her
howler.
howler,
Yeah.
and she lifts her lightsaber up, ignites it, and then they acknowledge her. And people had a problem with this. I don't like people are just
People had a
literally.
problem with this?
I literally, Katie, saw a post here because I searched the Ahsoka hashtag just to see what people were thinking on uh
Twitter,
on the
X.
finale. And I saw somebody screenshot the scene where she is holding up the lightsaber, and they said, "What the hell is this shit? Is there a cartoon that explains this reference?"
There's no
It's
reference.
it's not a reference. It is excuse me. It is simply her stating, "Hey, it's me. Don't try to kill me." And it is telling the audience that she is going to be with the mercenaries at the beginning of next season. That's
Yes.
it.
Again, I don't mind the scene itself. I mind that this is like we spent all season with them and we got one scene apiece for our bad guy of the season
Yeah.
kind of thing. That's what pisses me off. It's not the scenes themselves. It's the, oh yeah, this is a good spot to finish it. Admittedly, impatient as fuck. Me. But also, like, you can't leave this many questions up in the air with the season finale. Like, there's just too much up in the air. I know one of the things, Matt, I wanted to get your opinion on this, and this is not really like a question up in the air, but Hera and Ezra's scene, and you said you had some things that you wanted to talk about with this too, but Matt was curious. He's wondering why Ezra's dressed all in the stormtrooper gear when he
Uh
comes into the ship. I was like, that's what he does. He
that's
wants to see what
exactly
they'll
what he
do.
does. Okay, so for one, they give you the heads up about how this is going to go down when he gets the comm and hears that there is a unit heading his way, and he confirms it, acting
Mhm.
as the trooper. And then when he clicks it off, he says, "Thanks for the warning," and drags the body. At that exact moment, I said, he's going to dress up as the stormtrooper, get away, and go find Hera. And that's exactly what he does.
Yep.
And I think it was Zach who posted this on Twitter, said this is exactly what he does. And if Hera would have shot him, he would have held that over her head for
Yes.
years. What I love is that Chopper was like, "What the hell are you guys doing? That's my boy. Like, do y'all not see that this is Ezra? Like, what's wrong with you
Yep.
guys?" Um, and again, just pointing out the people that are nitpicking and everything else, people had a problem with this scene as well. With the fact that he was dressing up as a stormtrooper, but also that Jason was not there.
Jason wasn't there, and Zeb wasn't there.
Zeb
Why
wasn't
the
there.
hell would you spend the money CGIing Zeb in Mandalorian season 3 and not do it where it fucking counts?
Because there's multiple seasons of this show. And I say
But
multiple
the
seasons, I almost feel like season 2 will be its final season because you have to think about the timeline of the movies being released.
correct.
Yes.
But this whole season was not about Ahsoka. It was about getting Ezra home.
Yeah.
And you want to throw in all these other fan moments in here. We get a Kanan mention. We get a lot of information about Kanan and how Hu Yang held onto this lightsaber part for him because he was the only one who wanted that lightsaber part. And he was like, if he ever needed a replacement, I had it. And now it's yours because clearly you were meant to have it. Kind
I
of,
love that conversation, by the way.
yes.
The whole like, oh, I have a system. No, you don't have a system. You have clutter. And like they go back and forth. I love it. Because the thing is, Ezra has no idea who Yang is. Like
Yes.
but he is boom, 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 boom. He's just that is the Ezra that I know. And I love that we are able to see this is a canonical correct Ezra in live action. I was able to see him with a lightsaber.
Mhm.
I'm not 100% sure how I feel about him just grabbing a blue crystal and just being like, okay,
But we
because of
don't
the
know where the crystal came from. He could have
exactly,
just
we don't know where the
had
crystal came
one.
from. The idea of like, because as Jedi, the crystal has to call to you and all of these other things, and you have to have a relationship with it and everything else. I just like
Luke has proven in the comics, though, that you don't need that.
you
Though.
don't need it, but it's something that I personally like.
It's nice to have.
It's nice to have. Yes. And so like that whole thing I really did love. Huang being ready to be like, hey, leave me stranded. If you guys
Yep.
can go home, y'all go home. Love it. Love it.
Yep.
He just straight up is like, because he looks at I forgot what they were called already.
The
The
Noti.
yeah, the Noti freaking electrifying himself with the wires upon the ship. He's just like, yeah, don't wait up. Like y'all go ahead. He doesn't know exactly how long it's gonna take to get that thing up and flying again. Um, but still, I I love the interaction with these characters. We've said it before and we'll say it again. I think that the really good thing about having Dave Filoni a part of this team is he was the foundation on what a lot of these characters were based on. He helped create these characters.
Yep.
He goes and tells these people, okay, these are how these characters are reacting to these things. These are how these characters are just living within this universe. And he was able to correctly put it on a live action setting, which I love. I absolutely do love that.
I did see something on Twitter earlier, and it was about how everybody likes to call Filoni a canon god, but yet he is the one who breaks canon the most.
Yeah.
And I just that has nothing to do with the show. I feel like everything in this show right now so far has followed a very nice canon. But I just found that hysterical. And I just thought I should share.
Yeah. No, we've seen it all over Twitter and TikTok before. Um, but is there anything else specifically within the episode that you want to talk about else?
Let me go back through my notes, aka my chat from last night. Okay, we talked about Ezra building his lightsaber, Mortis' father and brother appearance, Death Troopers. What did you want Hera and Ezra to hug? I'm like, at least if we did not get like Zeb and Jason, I would have like I needed a hug.
The emotion on Hera's face was enough. Like it just clicked with her. Because again, you're just seeing some grizzly dude walk up on your ship with a stormtrooper outfit on. Only Hera would know that was Ezra. Nobody else. And just seeing that emotional click on her face, that was enough. I think there's going to be time for hugs and champagne and partying later.
But like off screen, all that's gonna happen off screen, we'll never see it on screen.
No, the moment Zeb and Ezra see each other again, you know there's going to be something. The moment you see Zeb, Ezra, and Chopper in one room unsupervised, you know shit's gonna go down. Like, it's just going to happen. You can't have these characters. And I think Dave Filoni knows this. Because it happens to us in the real world. When you get together with the people that you are most familiar with, you go back to your old ways. That's just how things happen.
Right. But also in Rebels, Hera is a hugger. And yes, I think Mary Elizabeth Winstead did an incredible job with what she was given to become Hera in this live action setting. But come on. Like, we can't get a hug. Like, they're just going to stare at each other. I just needed a hug. That's all I'm going to say. I just needed a hug. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was Thrawn. So we don't see Thrawn we don't see Thrawn hopping to multiple planets. He goes to Dathomir.
He goes to
and
one
drops
planet,
off
Dathomir.
the Great Mothers and their cargo, which is presumably Night Sisters.
Do you think they are Night Sisters?
Oh yeah, they gotta be Night Sisters.
I think it's more troopers.
No, there's no reason they would load up that much cargo for troopers. Because remember, like we see, like they have, like the troopers that Sabine and Ezra have to face off with are zombie troopers, like full on, like not just like what we saw in the fight where the Great Mothers are reanimating them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so if they are troopers, why isn't Thrawn using them?
You think Thrawn's promise to the mothers was to basically get their civilization back?
Yeah, because the Great Mothers have been the only thing that survived the Night Sisters because they're stranded on this planet and probably killed off other male people because that's what the Night Sisters did. They used the males specifically for breeding and did not allow any more to grow, at least in Legends specifically. So all of these sisters probably said, I will go into this deep slumber so you can have my life energy and survive to make sure the Night Sisters can live again. And that's why they go to Dathomir.
I don't think we'll get an explanation, but I think we will get exposition in the next season to kind of answer all of that, which I will be looking forward to a lot.
We also could not, because I mean, they might just want to be introducing the Night Sisters for a different reason, for something else in canon to come. What if Skeleton Crew is going to be interacting with the Night Sisters?
I think the Night Sisters are going to be, of course, the replacement for the Nogri in the Heir to the Empire.
Ooh, okay. I like that. Okay.
Like just think about the idea of, like, for one, You saw the hesitation on Morgan's face.
Mm-hmm.
When Thrawn said, "We need more time,"
Mm-hmm.
she knew, "Oh, I'm not seeing my home again. I'm not going to be able to live with my sisters, with my mothers." She died alone on that
Mm-hmm.
planet, quite possibly for nothing. We don't know yet because we need to see the conclusion of Heir to the Empire. But, like, Thrawn uses everyone for
Yep.
his own means. Now, the Emperor, used Thrawn well and trained him well for the idea of, you know, ruling the galaxy. And I don't I don't know this. Maybe you do. Does Thrawn know Palpatine's eventual plan for what, of course, comes to fruition in The Rise of Skywalker?
So we don't know because like the Thrawn books were written before Rise of Skywalker ever came out.
Yeah.
Thrawn
So,
Ascendancy came out like after it, but also that's prequel trilogy before Thrawn ever met Palpatine.
exactly. So, assumingly, as of right now, Thrawn is only there for the power. He is
Mm-hmm.
only there to be the ruler of the galaxy without knowing that Palpatine is still out there, eventually trying to rise to power. So he's going to step on as many people as possible, and he's going to use as many people as possible.
And
And
his
the Night
first step
Sisters
is going
is
to be to Mandalore.
that is also true.
Because did you see the picture I sent? On the galaxy map, Dathomir and Mandalore are close together.
Oh, really?
Yep. So Mandalorian season 4 is coming, and Big Bad is going to be Thrawn.
Oh, okay. Okay. Wait, where did you send that picture?
Did I not send it?
I don't think you did.
Oh no, I'm going to have to go find it. Okay, hang on. Please hold.
Yeah.
It's in my
Um,
likes somewhere.
so I think that the Night Sisters of Dathomir is basically going to be the replacements for the Nogri. Um, who they would listen to go back on Thrawn is going to be very interesting. Is that going to be a job for Ahsoka? Is that going to be, you know, a Hera thing? Like that's going to be interesting. I'm going to be eager to see how all that plays out.
Are they going to toss the Asajj Ventress book and have Asajj Ventress come back to life? The world may never know.
That's one I still haven't read. Um,
Very
but
good book. Very good book.
but that and I'm trying to think of anything else. Anything else for this finale? Oh, one thing that I didn't get to ask for Balin. That that thing in the background that he's looking intently at. What do you think it is?
Oh no, it's just one of those poses where he's like, that's like the dramatic, and that was always meant to be the ending shot. I feel like for
No, no.
Balin.
Yes, but in the skyline, there is something twinkling. There is if you look, there is a building or a temple or something with some sort of light emitting from it that he is staring down. Have you not seen it?
I don't think I paid attention to it.
Here, let me actually see if I can find it.
I think I was too distracted by the Mortis statues.
Yeah, there is a clear shot of here. This one is not as clear, but it is as clear as it will be. I will actually post it in our Star Wars Alliance. Let's see here. But this one If you look at this picture, in the far background, you see what looks like a temple, and there is a light of something emitting from the top.
Okay, yeah, I missed that.
That is what he is after. But what is it?
I I'm so pissed off with the way they handled this character. I like because where did his cloak come from? Like, what has he been up to in like the 3 days they've been on Peridia? Like, it's driving me insane. Like, I just want to know. I just want to know. And I don't like not knowing.
There's people
Okay.
that are even calling for uh Liv Schreiber to be Balin's Skull. There's a lot of people that I am noticing
Uh-huh.
that have the very popular short hair with beard, mustache, goatee hairstyle in Hollywood. It's just a popular look. So I think a lot of people can pull off the look, but it's the character and the performance that they are having to match. They're
Yeah.
it
And that's why like we laughed at Henry Cavill, but I do think Henry Cavill could pull it off based on his Witcher performance.
okay. But I think that is it for our conversation for Ahsoka. Now, Andrew had a question last week that we are going to now
Be
have
answering next week.
next week.
Yes, we talked about this.
I have it. Oh, wait. We do have it next week. Damn it. I
Don't
was
get ahead of
thinking
yourself.
next week from the week prior would be this week, but it's actually, yeah. I'm wrong. So, Andrew, you have to wait again for another week. We will have it. But what I can say is Crimson Climb is in the bag. From what we have seen online, people are already posting reviews. So, along with this episode, you should go look back on your feed. Crimson Climb should be on there. We will be posting it. If it's not today, from when you are listening to this, it should be for sure next week. We do want to make sure on these things. We don't want to get these pulled or anything else like that. I think overall we
We're
had a
gonna
good
be
time.
yeah.
What
I think we're
was that?
gonna be fine to publish it tomorrow.
All right. We had a good time with Crimson Climb. We had a very good discussion with Crimson Climb as well. I hope you guys enjoy that. And I believe this week was the release of Light and Life. Specifically, there
Oh, this
was
past week you
yeah.
released the episode on Tales of Light and Life.
Okay, yeah. So if you want a reminder, we did post that a while back. Go check that out. We had a very fun time talking every single story on that. Um, But with that, of course, thank you for being with us live and, of course, listening on our feeds. Remember, one thing that we haven't asked for a while and we want to go ahead and ask now, please, if you have some time, rate and review the show on any and all podcast review sites on Apple. It does help people find the show. And we do, of course, have our email and our hotline. If you have any feedback on the show or want to give us some notes and whatnot for the Ahsoka and your thoughts on the Ahsoka finale, that hotline number is 830-538-4828. You can text or leave a voice message. Remember, do not share too much information. You can either give us your Twitter handle, your YouTube handle, whatever you would like, just so that way we have something to acknowledge you by. And then, of course, I vet these text messages and voicemails so that way, don't try to any naughty shenanigans or anything else like that. I will read them, and we will try to either play them live here on the show, or like I said, at least read them here on the show. And then our email is Star Wars Alliance at gmail.com. Of course, that is StarWarsAlliance at gmail.com. Please leave us an email doing the exact same thing. Any thoughts on anything Star Wars related? If you would like to leave us a random question for the show, you can do that as well. But you can find me at Fanboy Clay on Twitter, on any social media with that tagline, and on twitch.tv/fanboyclay10, fanboyclay10. I have been playing a lot of Marvel Snap recently. So please go check me out there. Having a lot of fun with that game. But Katie, where can they find you?
So y'all, you can find me on most social media platforms. It is at Slice of Katie. My most used ones are, of course, Instagram and X, formerly known as Twitter. So this show you can find on Twitter. It's at Star Wars Alliance without the A in the war is very important. Don't forget it. Yeah, next week we are ranking the live action shows, kind of talking through different things about them, pros, cons, the whole shebang. So be here next week to hear us talk about all things live action Disney Plus. And yeah, we have our Tales of Light and Life review. We have Crimson Climb out this week. So please go support those. We love doing the book reviews. There's something that Clay and I get a lot of joy out of, getting to read these books. And we hope that you enjoy the information that we give you guys. So again, rate and reviewing us would be awesome if you love what we do here, guys. So with that, I want to wish everyone a great day or night, whatever time of day you are listening or watching, and we will see you all next time. May the force be with you.